Thank you. Hello, everyone. I think that during the last 2 days, you have been hearing a lot about AI, but probably no one is telling you why it's not really working on scaling. As it said, I'm David, the co-founder and CEO at Maisa, and today I'm going to tell you what it really means to scale in production in highly regulated industries. I work with highly regulated industries. We are talking banking, energy, infrastructure sectors, and we help them to transform these heavy manual processes into digital workers, like software entities capable of running them end-to-end. And I'm sure that you have heard about how amazing AI is, how much it's going to change the world, but then we see how the market is really doing, and we see that 95% of people are failing. That from the things that are successful, only 5% of those create value. Everyone is using ChatGPT, Copilot, now Codex and Cursor tools, but no one is really getting those into production. And the reality is that these 3 boxes that we have on the right side are the main reasons. The first reason, obviously, it's hallucinations and contextual errors. And it's not just about that you cannot trust it, it's also that you don't know when is it going to fail. And current architectures using LLMs with tools can patch it, but do not solve this problem. The second issue that you can find when you try to do practical AI is that it's completely unfaithful. And that means that you cannot trust the process that the AI is doing to arrive to an answer. So you always have to put the human to review it, and you lose any return of the investment. And last but not least, something that not too many people speak about, and that we see a lot when working with this industry, is that all of their infrastructure, it's a mess. It's very fragmented. Each country has different environments, and it's extremely hard to connect it in a way that it's safe. So I want to go one step back to understand what impacts means. And to do that, I want to ask ourselves, why are we doing this? Literally, what do businesses need AI for? Because what everyone is going to tell you is efficiency, productivity, cost savings, and what? Like, yes, that's like buzzwords today. The reality is that at the end, companies want to stay competitive. And what they are not aware, some of them are starting to be aware, is that saving costs is not going to be enough for the business to successfully grow into the future that we are entering. The reality of where the value lies in AI is that it brings the opportunity for companies that are very slow to accelerate their delivery of value to clients. And this is extremely important because as we are transitioning to an economy of instant gratification, of I want it now, it's the difference of why you choose Revolut over another bank because you have it now versus having to wait 1 week for getting a loan, for example, for a car. But once you have that value, it, at the same time, needs to keep or reduce the costs that I have, so I have to still have the same margins or bigger. It cannot bring risks into the table, and it has to be end-to-end to really provide this value. And that's what, at the end, it's the core of the problem. Why? Because in today's world, the human, it's the one that is executing the tasks. It's the one that is doing these end-to-end processes that are delivering services to the clients, products to the clients. Past automations were able to automate the handwork. That's RPA, that's UiPath, that's ANET-N, right? Things that are able to interact with external systems. Then we have the new wave of AI, which is automating the head work. I'm trying to simplify a lot. So that's ChatGPT, that's Claude, Gemini, are tools, Copilot, that help you with the head work, with contextualizing the data. But the problem is that if you transition from having this handwork and only head work, the main problem that you will have is that now the role of the human, it's going to be an orchestrator. So you still have to have the human in the loop, in the center of the processes, and you won't be able to compete and to deliver instant value. Because there is one thing that it's called human latency tax. That is that we expect humans to do the task straightforward when they receive it. But in the real world, that doesn't happen. I have to go to it. I have 3 tasks pending. I'm lazy, and I don't want to do it. So we solved this, and we made a solution that, in order to provide value, was doing the end-to-end, the handwork and the head work. And to do that, we had to solve 2 big problems. The first one has to do with AI, which is making the system hallucination resistant, a system that you can trust, a system that autonomously can be evaluated over the performance of a task. And the second thing has nothing to do with AI. If you want to automate any process, and think about, and we will see an example now of the impact, but think about typical even N10. You have to translate the business language into the process language. And the people that are doing these tasks do not know how to explain it. They can explain it to juniors entering into the business, but they don't know how to translate what they are thinking into a process. And that's why whenever you wanted to do automations, you had to hire process engineers, a $500,000 project with Capgemini, and it created a lot of noise in order to automate the task. We did this with a platform that it's called Maisa Studio that enables the systems to, it's an agentic process automation platform that offers full explainability, traceability of the results, natural language-based onboarding. I really hate arrows with boxes to make a process, so everything is natural language. We capture knowledge. So before the selling, how does impact look like? What is real practical AI? I'm going to show you the results of a use case we have in production that it's running every 3 seconds, which is trade finance. This is one of the biggest banking use cases because they are spending in very, very simplified. I'm in Spain and I have a company and I want to buy something from the US. So the banks intermediate, like doing escrow, and there is a full process to manage this on a scale when we are doing hundreds of millions of transactions. And it was absolutely impossible to be automated. It was impossible because all of the documents that you had to read were changing. Sometimes you receive documents like this where you had to check the color of the stamp to verify that it was coming from the right vendor. Other times you had to understand pictures. So the problem is that the data is absolutely unstructured. You need to connect to hundreds of external systems to conciliate the data. The regulation is changing weekly. And at the same time, more than 300 people are involved in the bank we are working with just doing this task. If you wanted to automate this process end-to-end, you will have to do something like this to start with. And this is just the absolutely beginning of doing the document understanding. I'm sure that you are familiar with this kind of flows. And once you finish implementing this, the regulators have changed, and it's not anymore useful. That's why this was impossible to be done before. So what we did is we helped them to onboard, just using natural language, a digital worker that was able to do all the document review, conciliation, audit, report, uploading to the system, and informing the manager end-to-end, absolutely end-to-end. So the first thing that it did, it was the head work. It went to the system and get the correct files. It read the documentation. Then it cross-validates the information, not just with the documents and with the Swift 700, which is about the use case, but also with the internal system information. It classifies and cross-checks the information. It generates a report based on their templates. And then it comes the handwork. This has to be uploaded for the auditors to be reviewed, and the manager that before was receiving messages from its colleagues and employees needs to receive a message with the finished report in an email plus the document attached. This is how a real end-to-end digital worker looks like. And what is the impact? So the impact is huge. The impact of this case of a study, this is the results of a Swiss firm that has implemented it with 250 FTEs, around 15 to 20 million. It's what they are spending on this. The first thing, remember the 3 boxes we had? Risks. We had the risk of thoughtful, of having to do the end-to-end, and of margins. The first thing is the direct value that they got. They used to spend 2 hours per document review, and they win when the faster it is. And now it was able to be done in 93% of the time to value reduction. It means that in 9 minutes, it's when now they respond the request. Prior, it was 2 hours. So this is already a huge win for them. The second thing, it's on the margins. It's not just that it's an 80% cheaper than having a human doing this task. It's that at the same time, now they have unlocked 32% of their capacity. That means that now this team has transitioned to another business unit, and it's being used without having to increase the headcount. So they have unlocked 32% of capacity while saving 80% of costs. And last but not least, they could trust it. Because we run autonomous execution evaluations, we could tell them where the 92% were successful, and we could ping the manager with the ones that did not work, or we thought that did not work, or went out of the scope of the task, and reduce the 72% time of review versus when a human had a problem to be reviewed. So these are real data of how you really literally change a business and deliver the value. And next, what happens next? So then they want more. You have one working, now I want more. I want one for finance, I want one for auto loans, I want one for credit scoring. And you enter in what I think it's going to be one of the hottest topics of 2026, which is governance, which is scalability and observability. Once you are able to get one to work, they want 10,000. And once they want 10,000, it's an absolute, not AI-related problem to scale these systems. You need to manage access and permissions, and that's not simple, because you cannot simply use the typical connections. You have to create new service accounts, you have to create new flows to manage the access and permissions. They have different environments, and in one environment they have one infrastructure, on development, on pre they have another infrastructure, so you have to orchestrate all of the accuracy through the different environments. You have to be able to notify the human of what went wrong and why, so the human can spend almost no time reviewing it and self-correcting the system. And last but not least, you have to make sure that it works and that the performance it's there, and that at the same time, even if the system, and this is another learning that we have, and if the system is unstable, which is very common in these regulated industries that has a lot of volume of transactions, the system can be resilient, and the worker can wait, can notify other workers. So this governance, observability, management of a lot of workers, it's still unknown by the market because they are not seeing this problem. But whenever you want to work in your agents, in your companies, startups, or you are a company, this is going to be a huge problem to solve. I am just telling you what is coming, and I think this is positive. And now I'm going to give you a bit more of granularity. What does this mean in the real world? So tactics. It means that you need to manage the governance, access to the data, control to the capabilities, users with the right authorization. You need to manage the risk. It's not just about it doing the task. It's about it not lying to your customers. It's about one employee not creating one thing that can expose your external data outside. It's about the compliance, especially in the market that I work at, which is very regulated, about the AI Act, about the where the data is, and obviously about cybersecurity. I'm sure you have seen new agents like Atlas, Perplexity, Comet, these AI browsers that you can very easily hack. So the same can happen to digital workers. So you need to create control around it. So that's it. I wanted to be brief, straightforward to the point, and I always like to end up, when I speak about this, saying that it's extremely early. The 95% of the market is failing. That means that there is a huge opportunity for startups, companies, question what the market is telling you that works, because if all of them are failing, maybe it's not working. So I think that this is great, and I really like this opportunity to encourage everyone to try to go for these opportunities, because there are no winners, there are no leaders yet, and there's a lot of space to create generational defining companies. And that's it. A pleasure. Thank you very much.